Hello everyone. This is basically the third part in the AWS AI certification series. So what I will discuss in this part is basically those topics that you can expect a lot in the exam. Basically, you can expect at least 3 to 4 questions from these topics in the exam. So I will discuss these topics one by one. So today the topic is basically on the top P, top K, temperature, and the max length, top sequence, inference parameters. So we will discuss what are these parameters and how they are used in prompt engineering performance optimization. So to give you a head start, basically before that you should be aware about prompt engineering, and I assume that since you guys would be studying about the certification, you would be aware about prompt engineering. So prompt engineering is basically a technique where we try to fine tune a model. Basically we already have a pre-trained model, and we using prompts, like we in a certain format we ask, basically it's type of question that we ask the model and give a certain type of, like there are certain parameters like context, input, output. We specify everything when we like do a prompt on a pre-trained model. So basically we try to improve the performance of the model by giving a prompt like how we expect the output should be. So in that there are certain inference parameters that we can use in order to basically in order to imply how the output gets changed on different parameter values. So let's say if we talk about before that before that there are 5 parameters, as we all know: top P, top K, temperature, max length, top sequence. So out of these 5, 3 are for randomness and diversity. Randomness is basically trying to create more creative outputs from the inputs that we provide, and other 2 are length, for length basis only. Like if you want how, like if I talk about maximum length is something that we want to stop the model after a particular length of tokens that it has provided. So let's go one by one. Then first we will discuss about these 5 inference parameters. Then I will try to explain different variations of questions that can come on these topics. And third, I will show you a practical demo for this, how the output gets changed based on these parameters. So you should, like all we know that these are the performance optimization parameters known as inference parameters. So if I talk about temperature first, so temperature is basically used for enhancing the creativity of the model. Basically the value ranges from 0 to 1, and 0 is the lowest. As we increase the value from 0 to 1, the model will generate more creative outputs. I will show you this with the help of an example in the practical demo. And now if we move to top P parameter, so top P is basically, top P refers to the probability of the most recent words, the most occurring words in a input. For example, if I, let's say if there is a sentence that the weather is dash something. Now how the model will fill this up, like how the model will generate a response for this. Let's say there are certain words in the input that the model has been trained on. Let's say first one is pleasant, and the probability of this word is, let's say 40%, let's say 0.40. Let's say one word is the weather is foggy, and let's say the probability of this is 25%, and let's assume sunny, it's, let's say 10%, or let's say 20%. So 40, 60, 85, and let's say one more is there, and let's say it's raining, and the probability of this is, let's say 60 to 15%. Now these are the probability of certain words in an input. Like basically input is something which the model has been trained on, that data, not the input, the data. Now in top P what happens is, like the value also ranges from 0 to 1. Now when we specify this value, let's say we specify the value as 0.25. So 0.25 means that the model will generate an output based on 25% of the most probable words in the data. And So let's say as we increase the value of top p, as we increase the value of top p, the model will try to generate a more non-coherent response. Non-coherent response is something it will not generate a like a response that you are expecting. It will try to be more creative, or try to be more diverse, unique. Let's assume if I have specified this as 0.65, like let's say if I specify the top p value as 0.65. In this case, if you see, there are two words: pleasant 40%, foggy 25%. So in this case, the model will take one of these two values. It will not look at the other two. It will just, because 0.40 plus 0.25 is 0.65. So the model will only consider 65% of the most probable words, and in this case, the 65% of the most probable words are foggy and pleasant. So out of these two, the model will consider the output of this sentence. So I hope this is clear. Now moving to top k. Top k is similar to top p. The only difference is that it also ranges from 0 to 1 only. Not 0 to 1. It's a length. Sorry for that. It's a value. You can specify any value you want. Now top k is similar to top p in terms of, it will also consider the most probable words, but not in terms of probability, but in terms of actual words. So if I say top k value is 3, so it will consider now these three words, like the first three most probable words, these three, that is pleasant, foggy and sunny. So I hope you understand the difference between top p and top k. Top k will consider the probability of the most probable words. Top k will consider the number of most probable words. So if 3 is there, then first, second, third. If there is 1, then only it will consider pleasant. So I hope this is clear. Temperature is for creativity. Top p is for probability of most probable words. Top k is for the number of most probable words. Now these two are simpler, maximum length and stop sequence. So what these are: maximum length is something like, let's say if you specify 500, it means that you want that the model should present an output of just 500 tokens. So remember that these are all tokens. So maximum length is something, the maximum length that you want the model should output. And stop sequence is something like when you want the model should stop producing more output based on when, let's say, it encounters a particular word. So let's say in stop sequence I write human. So let's say whenever the model is outputting the data and it encounters the word human, so it will stop there and then. So that's the difference between max length and stop sequence. Now moving to the questions that you can expect in the exam. So let's begin with the first question. Let's say you have a question that an organization is using Bedrock. Let's say this is the first question. An organization is using Bedrock, and it wants that the percentage of most likely candidates should be considered for the next word in the output. Basically, when the model is generating the next word, it should look at the percentage of the most likely candidates. Now, which of the following parameters should the engineer use? So if you have understood the concept clearly, so when it talks about percentage of most likely candidates, it's automatically top p, because it considers the probability of the percentage of the most likely candidates as discussed here, top p. So in this case, top p should be the answer. Top k is number of most probable words, so eliminated. Temperature is for creativity purposes. Stop sequence is a totally different concept. It wants to stop the output. Now moving to second question, it's like an organization is using Bedrock and wants to limit the number of tokens in the model output. Limit the number of tokens in the model output. So these two are directly eliminated because these are different concepts. Now if you look at the last two, response length and stop sequence. Response length is something you want the model should output only these number of tokens. Stop sequences, you want the model should stop. So if you read this clearly, it says that limit the number of tokens, so response length should be the correct answer. Similarly here, top P should be the correct answer. Now if I do, let's say if in the exam you have if you are being asked about creativity, like you want to enhance the creativity of a model, then remember that temperature is used for that purpose. If you read the term creativity, you can think of temperature, like you have to increase the temperature or decrease the temperature depending upon what the question is asking. Similarly, if you see somewhere that you like the model should stop on encountering a certain word or something, so in that case stop sequence should be the answer. Remember, these are all tokens in terms of tokens, and top k is like say the model wants to consider the number of, not the percentage or the probability, the number of most probable words, number of most probable words. So in that case, top k should be the answer. Now moving to the third question, like it says that an organization is using Bedrock and it needs to reduce the cost while using prompt examples for each input. What is the ideal way, or what is the cost effective way for doing so? Now this is asking for reducing the cost. If we see reduce temperature, so temperature, as we know, is for creativity purposes. Whether we increase it or not, it will not increase, like it will not affect the cost. You should be aware that the cost is mainly based on the number of inputs or outputs that the model gives. So if we reduce the top P or increase top K or decrease top K, these are just the inference parameters that will affect how the model generates the output. It will not affect the cost. Now if you see the third option, reduce number of tokens in input, as you would be aware, or if you're not, then you should be aware that the cost depends on the number of inputs or the number of tokens. A number of input basically token inputs or token outputs. So in this case, this should be the correct answer. And if you are like having a doubt in mind, like what if the response length is a option here, so yes, that can affect the cost, because like if I specify the response length is 300 and if I specify the response length is 500, so the number of output tokens would differ. So this can be the possible answer if that's in the question. Stop sequence will generally, stop sequence is answer, it will not affect, because you are not sure, like like let's say if I have a model and I have specified the stop sequence as human, so I am exactly not sure when this word would be encountered, so that should not be the answer. But if you have response length, that can be a potential answer. So these are the type of questions that you can encounter in the exam, and you can expect around 3 to 4 questions minimum. You need to remember all these 5, and you, even if you see a different variation, you just need to keep in mind what each parameter is used for and how can it affect, like if you want to increase or if you want to decrease. Basically, if you are increasing these values, the like the temperature, top P, top K values, the model will generate a more creative or more unique response, not the response that you would be expecting. It would be a different unique response. If the value is low, it will generate this kind of response that you would be expecting. It will not be a creative or a unique response. Now if you are interested, you can see the demo, like I will try to show you how these parameters affect all of these. So yeah, I was talking about the demo part, so if you are interested, you can watch this. So this is Amazon Bedrock. Basically, I'm on the AWS console, and I will just be exploring these. So I would be, there is like Amazon Playground that you can use for exploring these options. So what I will select is, I will select any of these models. So just to give you a note that using these models can generate some cost. So just make sure that you are not using it too much. Now let's say if you see this, these are the configuration. If you see the random and diversity, these are the parameters: temperature, top P, top K that we discussed, randomness and diversity. These are the length parameters. So if you see in stop sequence, human word is given. Like we can add or remove it depending upon like what we want. So if I enter here, let's say hello. So basically, whenever the model is trying to generate an output and it encounters the word hello, it will stop the output there and then. Maximum length is how much the number of tokens we want that the output should generate. So I will keep this small, and let's start with like first I will make this lesser so that the model does not generate creative outputs. It just gives a normal output. So I will just decrease these values, and what it also depends upon what kind of questions we ask to the model to get a better clarity on how these parameters are affecting. So let's say I ask the model a question, tell me a joke. Let's say I'm not sure how this will work, but the values are less. So let's say, so it gives output that why can't a bicycle stand on its own, because it's too tired. Okay, now let's say I increase the temperature, maybe it generates a more creative joke. So let's say I increase all these values, and I ask the same question again. And so length is 267. Anyways, it will not like go over this. So why don't egg-tail jokes they crack each other up? So it's not quite prominent whether it's a creative or not. Let's try again. Okay, let's try a different question, I guess. Write a short story about patient travelers. Okay, let's ask this question. First, we will decrease these values so that it generates not like it generates a normal response, not a creative one. Okay, so okay, so it says a dusty road, something something. This is Amir vibed. Okay, there was his friend who was walking beside him. Okay, it tells a short story. Okay, let's increase this value and let's see what output gets generated. I will ask the same question again. It should be a creative one. Okay, there's a longer short story. The sun beat down. Okay, it's a different one. And okay, I see some kind of creativity because animals are coming here. Camels were laden. Yusuf sped up. Merchant bound near slaughtering hole. You were exhausted. So Greek philosophers, some intellectual things are coming, and different kinds of words have been used as compared here because it was a simpler one, like normal words. It depends upon what kind of question we are asking. That will show a clear difference, but I think you all would be getting an idea how these parameters can affect the model's output. In this case, it also, like if I ask, let's say, how's the weather today? How's the weather today? And let's say I am keeping a temperature between, and P is less, like it should be very not be very decisive. So okay, it did not give any answer. Okay, I'll leave this. So basically, to give you an idea, as you increase the temperature, more creative outputs the model should produce. It should not give a coherent response, but it should give responses that are creative. As you would know that Gen AI is more based on creative content. So in that case, temperature, top P, top K parameters are more effective. So if you want, you can try this Amazon Playground, or also if you want, there's an open like ChatGPT Playground also. There you can also try different things. So that's all for this video. I will see what other topic I can cover. So yeah, thanks, cheers.